So one of the questions that we get a lot is what is the right ad budget to spend on your TikTok ads? And since there's no one answer that fits all, I decided to build this document and record this video going over the exact process that actually fits everyone and that can help you to establish a budget that actually makes sense and helps you achieve the best results with your TikTok ads. So let's get straight into this. So first you have to remember two numbers, 50 and 1000. 50 is referred to as the number of conversions needed per week on any given ad set to get out of the learning phase, which is the most important thing that you need to think of. 1000 is the amount of pixel events that you need on any given event, regardless if it's add to cart, initiate checkout, view content, or purchase, in order to optimize for that lower event down the funnel. Now let's go through how to determine your budget in order to get you through the learning phase, and also how long is it going to take you in order to optimize for lower level conversions events on TikTok. 50 conversion events a week on TikTok is the amount needed to get through the learning phase, right? For e-commerce, we also like starting with optimizing for add to cart and initiate checkout because it's much easier to get 50 conversions, right? In different industries, you may optimize for a button click, lead, traffic, whatever the top of the funnel event is for you on your website, and you have it set up. So if you have, let's say, experience from Facebook and you want to go for a specific, let's say you're not in e-com, we want to go for a specific event, let's say scheduling a call that you have set up within your website, this is the event you would optimize for, or the event that is before that, right? So speaking of add to carts, if we need 50 add to carts a week to optimize our ad set, what that means is first we need to determine what is our cost per add to cart. And similar to other industries, we need to determine what is our cost per, let's say, scheduling an event, right? Ultimately, you're not going to know your cost per your event or add to cart, which we'll be using for this example, until you start spending on your TikTok ads, but you can be approximate, right? More so if you have the data from other platforms. Now, let's say your product costs $100 and your target cost per acquisition is $50. With this, you're profitable, and only if your average cost per purchase is $50 out of $100 average order value, and that would bring you to 2 ROAS, right? So this is a good case scenario, but we're not optimizing for purchase yet. We are optimizing for add to cart. So the first thing we need to figure out is what is your ideal cost per add to cart, and then what is your actual add to cart, right? Once you start to spend on your TikTok ads. The first thing to look at is your data. You have probably already spent on ads on Facebook. You can probably estimate how many people come to your website and end up adding to cart eventually, and you can divide it, and then you can determine how much your cost per add to cart is based off of your ad spend. So as mentioned, Facebook, Google, whatever platform that you've been using, if you have the data, perfect. If you don't, you need to estimate it at least a little bit, right? A couple of examples of that. Let's say if 10% of the traffic to your website ends up adding to cart, that's 1,000 visitors that visit your website and 100 add to carts, right? If you go to your Facebook Business Manager and look at a certain amount of time to see how many website visitors you had and how many of those visitors have added to cart, for our customers is usually between 10 to 30%, but you can get that precise number from your previous run campaigns if you just take the number of visitors of the website and the number of add to carts. It's important to know where you rank on average. So then when you're starting with TikTok ads, you can start to make assumptions about when I'm driving traffic to my site, how many of these people are going to add to cart. This is based on your product, what kind of campaigns are you running, your conversion rate, etc. We'd say 10 to 30% is about average. Let's keep in mind when you're trying to determine your budget for TikTok ads, right? So 10% of people add to cart who visit your website, and let's just say that your budget is $1,000 a week on TikTok ads, a pretty healthy budget. What we always recommend to get most of the results in, or most of the brands are usually in that scenario where $3,000 to $5,000 is really healthy and allows to accomplish the results. But again, the more precise you can be with the estimations, the better you can be sure that this is the right budget, right? So what you need to determine is, out of these $1,000 that you spend, what is going to be your cost per add to cart, right? So if you break it down and you have, let's say, $1 cost per click, now in terms of your target cost per click, $1 would be at the higher side. Typically for our clients, we're trying to get a cost per click anywhere between 10 cents and $1. When you're just starting on TikTok, your pixel isn't optimized yet, so TikTok has no idea who to serve your ads to. So $1 cost per click wouldn't be so bad, right? But if you get into the position where you actually warmed up the pixel and the pixel already knows what is your target audience, you can get all the way to 10 cents to 5 cents, right, for click. So that means that in this scenario, if you get 1,000 visitors from your site from TikTok, we know we have 10% add to cart. That means we have 100 people adding to cart on your first week spending on TikTok. Now let's determine what your cost per add to cart is. And in this case, that would make it a $10 per add to cart. So if we're spending $1,000, we have 1,000 visitors and we have 10% of those visitors to actually add to cart, we're paying essentially $1 per one visitor and $10 for one add to cart. So when you're thinking of how much budget should you be spending to get our ad sets through a learning phase and to achieve a low cost per add to cart, which is ultimately the goal, you have to think back to our rule of 50. In order to optimize the ad set, you need 50 add to carts a week. So in our current scenario, we would only need to spend $500 a week. And that's because if we now spend $1,000 per week, we're getting 100 add to carts, right? Which is more than we need. We just need 50. So you know that your budget a week should be just $500 in order to get out of the testing phase. And this is the actual minimum that you should be giving TikTok as your budget. So if we spend $500 a week, that would result in a, let's say, $1 cost per click and 10% add to cart rates, and get us to the 50 add to carts a week with $10 cost per add to cart. And I know that there's lots and lots of numbers, so whenever you feel lost or you need to rewind it a little bit, feel free to do that. Feel free to pause the video, and I'll also urge you something that I didn't mention in the beginning: take notes, right? Because it all makes sense when you actually understand the processes behind it. And if you have the experience of running ads yourself, or you have someone in your team that can do this, it might be really, really helpful to get started with it. Now, you should determine out of that 50 add to carts, how many people are actually converting. For this, you can go back to your Facebook ads and determine your add to cart to purchase ratio. So with a $100 product and 10% add to cart ratio, let's say you have half of those actually end up purchasing, which we'd say it's a very healthy add to cart to purchase ratio. Usually it's anywhere between 30 to 50% for our clients, and it's ultimately about your product too. If it's an impulse buy, you can easily get to these numbers, and TikTok is all about impulse buy purchases. Now let's think about what is our cost per purchase if we have this add to cart to purchase ratio. Again, we're going for another example. So we have $1,000 budget, we have $1 cost per click. We have 1,000 visitors out of that. Out of 1,000 visitors, 10% is going to add to cart, and 50% of the add to carts are going to actually be your purchase. With this, with 100 add to carts, if we divide it by 2, 50 people from the 1,000 are going to purchase, which would mean a $20 cost per acquisition, right? Again, stop it, rewind it if necessary, but this is the formula. So if we know that 50% is going to convert, that's half of the add to carts, which is 50 people, right? And if we get $10 cost per add to cart, and from 2 people, 1 person buy, that's $20 for one purchase. Even when we are optimizing for add to carts, this is the type of math that we need to determine what our cost per purchase on TikTok will look like when we first start running ads for the client. So as I mentioned before, $500 is sufficient to get 50 add to carts, right? But to get in actual conversions, right, we need to determine what is the actual budget of, or what is the actual cost per acquisition, right? So we can determine the budget depending on that. So if we then aim to have conversions, let's say for add to cart, it should be sufficient, right? But if we discover we have $20 cost per acquisition, we need to again time it with 50, right? So we know that in this case, we would need to spend these $1,000 in order to get 50 conversions that week if our cost per conversion is, or cost per acquisition is $20, right? We always need to time it 50 so we can have that budget for a week. And I know, we know, it's a lot of math, and this might be something you'll have to review a couple of times and practice your own equations in order to ultimately see how this works out for your business. But it's worth it. Again, it's really worth it. And if you're thinking of handling TikTok ads yourself, like this is the basic concept that you need to figure out, because these numbers and these KPIs will also help you navigate your future campaigns, and you will be meeting them on different points of the journey, right? So you also need to understand that these numbers are always changing. We just assume the number dollar cost per click, but if your cost of traffic is cheaper and then your cost per click is 2, and you can have a pretty much healthier CPA going on that way. So you can essentially work these numbers depending on how good your creative is, how good your TikTok pixel is, and how optimized it is, how good your predictions are, and more and more. So we also need to understand that these numbers are always changing. So we just assumed that we'll get $1 cost per click. And if your cost of traffic is cheaper, then obviously your cost per click goes down. If your quality of the UGC or the video that you're getting traffic from is better, then obviously you'll get cheaper cost per click. If your TikTok pixel is more optimized, you might get better audience, right? So you might get better numbers there. So you can do lots and lots of things to have a healthier cost per acquisition, and this is something we will be discussing in different videos and a little bit in this one as well. So let's just break down the metrics really quickly into determining what variables are going to affect your cost per acquisition on TikTok, because that's going to determine what your budget should be. So cost per click, this is determined by CPMs, we call them, but it's cost per 1,000 impressions, right? Which is essentially cost per TikTok showing your video to 1,000 people. And the click-through rate, right? So CPM is the cost to reach 1,000 users on TikTok, typically ranging between $1 and $10, and it also depends on seasonality. During Black Friday, for example, things are going to be a little crazy. The CPM is going to be higher as a lot of people are going to try and advertise on TikTok during that time of the year. Similar to Facebook, TikTok is an auction advertising platform where you need to buy a spot in order to advertise to the audience, right? So if there's many people essentially spending money and trying to get the attention of the users, the price will obviously go up, right? So on average, we can say the CPMs are around $5 on TikTok. On Facebook, we see them anywhere between $10, $15, or even $20 if your niche is like skincare, let's say. Let's say in this example, our CPM is going to be $10. The second thing to keep in mind is your click-through rate. Click-through rate on TikTok can be anywhere from 0.5 to all the way up to 2 to 3% if you have a really great ad. If you had any ad above 1%, we could say it's an industry-leading ad, right? So again, as I mentioned, quality of the TikTok UGC, TikTok ad is what dictates. If you have really, really good ad, 2 to 3% click-through rate is amazing. If you have let's say just a regular ad, but it's over 1% click-through rate, it means that the industry leading ad, because with all the noise, with all the videos out there, if you have one person out of every 100 click on your ad, it's really industry leading on TikTok at the moment, right? But we'll use 1% in this example. So let's just say if you want to figure out what you need to spend on TikTok in order to reach 50 add to carts a week, and you know your CPM is around $10, you also start to determine that your average click-through rate is 1%. Now you can affect your CPM. Really, this is determined by TikTok. It's just the cost of advertising on their platform, but click-through rate is very much in your control. Again, as I mentioned, 90% of success is the UGC, the video. Having a compelling offer, great product, amazing visuals to show it. This is going to determine the number of people watching your ad and continuing to your site. Let's say you spend $20 on your first day of running TikTok ads. Your CPM is $10, which means you're going to reach 2,000 people with your ad. With 1% click-through rate, 20 people are going to go to your site. With 10% visitors to add to cart ratio, we would get only 2 people adding to cart, which would result in 14 add to carts a week, which is really low, right? So again, this gives you a precise idea on how you can calculate it, and you know that you need at least 50, so you need to time this number at least 4 times, right? And time the actual numbers here also 4 times to get these 50 converting events a week. So this is what happens when you spend a low amount on your TikTok ads. If you're not getting 50 conversions on your ad sets, that means your campaign isn't going to spend, because TikTok is going to be like, I have no idea who to serve your ads to, because I'm not getting enough data on the pixel. You're not going to get the performance you want, because you're not going to get through the learning phase, and your campaigns aren't going to optimize. This is where a lot of people give up, and it happens all the time, because they start with a small budget just to test out the platform because it's new and not wanting to make any mistakes, and the campaigns stop spending. So you've probably already maybe been in this situation yourself, but I can guarantee you've heard somewhere that people have problem of the TikTok ads not spending, and they just put budget there and the TikTok ad is not spending. And this is the reason for that. TikTok just doesn't think that you will get enough conversion events, and then they rather not spend your money and rather not take it, right? So you need to up the budget, and to not add too much budget, you need to calculate how much exactly you need to invest. So they won't see any purchases that come from TikTok, only 14 add to cart, so they are convinced TikTok doesn't work, or at least for their brand. And this is only if the TikTok decides to start spending, right? Maybe in the beginning, but the 14 add to carts wouldn't really help to get that converting event. So to prevent yourself from falling into this rabbit hole, you need to make sure that with what you're spending, you'd get at least those 50 conversions on your ad spend per week. This is where you need to make sure that your daily budget is laddering up to at least 50 conversions a week, and you need to make sure thoroughly. So you need to keep in mind that the things that you can control, CTR, more clickable, creative, better offer, best-selling product. The second thing is, of course, your actual website or landing page. And this is something that we didn't mention just yet. So check out your landing page. How well is it converting? If it's slow, if it's confusing, if traffic isn't converting on your landing page, then the traffic to add to cart ratio is going to be very, very low. And also the add to cart to purchase ratio will be low. If you improve your landing page to have more traffic to add to cart ratio, you're going to need to spend less on your ads and get better results or more results. The key is always thinking about your ad creatives in terms of how you can raise your CTR, which is in the long term, will lower your cost per click, and then work your landing pages to have more people converting, because that's what's going to help optimize the TikTok pixel with much less budget. So the key things to take away from this is the 90% of success is the actual ad, is the actual video, because if you need to pay a lot to get one person to your website, and then obviously it will cost you so much that it wouldn't be worth it, and it will cost you much more than your average AOV, let's say. And the other thing is that if your website doesn't look good, isn't optimized, it doesn't already have good conversion rates, you can send however much traffic that you want, but it won't be converting. Right? So these two things need to be in order before you actually start running ads and calculating the budget. Right after you have this, you need to calculate that you have the right budget to have at least 50 conversions with the event that you've chosen, right? So I hope that this answers your questions. I hope that you first create the best videos that you can, focus on the landing page, and then you test out what numbers you're getting, reiterate the process, and with testing the numbers, you actually be able to calculate the right budget, and your TikTok campaigns will be successful and you'll get another platform which you can add to your omnipresence strategy into dominating the market. And obviously, if you need any help with this, we're always just an email away, so feel free to reach out. If you find this video helpful, I'll be posting more of these kind of more technical videos where you'll learn everything there is about running TikTok ads. So feel free to like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.